You're listening to SM Media.
Hi, folks, and welcome to our latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2025. I'm Scotty Pike. It is always a pleasure to be your host. We are going to be having a look back at a busy weekend of action with a view to not so much a busy weekend ahead, but it's kind of the calm before the storm, before the Christmas period. But there is still a very important Grade 1 in there. And to join me to look back and preview what's coming up, it's always a pleasure to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin.
Hi there, yeah, all good again. Yeah, it was a decent enough weekend. There's just it's kind of a little bit of a lull going into the big Christmas action, and then you're going to see a lot more stars come out and shake up a lot more markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we will announce that we do have a Christmas special going out on Sunday night about 6 o'clock, where we will preview all the races that we can ahead of the Christmas period, and we'll have a couple of kind of naps and horses to follow for that event. Christmas is always amazing for a racing perspective, but we do have some things to talk about before then. We'll start with a couple of questions, one relating to Christmas. Calum, if Constitution Hill faces Lossiemouth at Christmas, can you price it, and who would win?
Well, it's tough. Well, if you're assuming that Constitution Hill makes it, well, he will be with running. Then I think you'd have to make him favourite on figures.
Yeah, you would.
Even with his setbacks, because those fears have been allayed because he's going to run. So yeah, I mean, I would probably be 46 Constitution Hill, 47 Constitution Hill, 11 to 10 Lossiemouth, 11 to 8 Lossiemouth, something like that. I would probably back Lossiemouth in that circumstance, but I think that's the way I would kind of generally price it. And Nicky Henderson's been there have been updates about him, but they've been quieter updates and better toned. And so I think secretly, they're a little bit happier with him. That's reflecting the champion hurdle market because he's now best price 72, I think.
Yeah. I would kind of go along with you. There's kind of stuff coming out for Nicky Henderson every day, and when he's not bullish, I think that that's more interesting. When he's very excited, like at the start of the season, he was saying he's in great form, and then you're thinking, right, he's just going to come back and blitz the division. But you're saying he's more quiet. There's still a wee bit like he's saying, well, I've got the update here. He's basically just saying that it's looking good. It's better than what it was, as opposed to, yes, he's back and he's going to run. That's when he says that, I'd panic a wee bit. So when he's just a bit quieter, I like that.
Yeah, it's a change of tone and it keeps things open, doesn't it? I prefer the quiet, like kind of optimistic one than this kind of bullish nonsense about his back, because once you trumpet that line too much and he disappoints, you're not going to win many friends that way, even though that he's probably not bothered by that. But yeah, I do think, but when there's a kind of change of tone there a little bit on the trainer about a high profile horse, I generally think that it's a positive sign. And well, I wouldn't be rushing to the bookmakers to get the wheelbarrow out to say that this is certainly not very good and he is definitely back. Funnily enough, I think the key with him might be if he sends Sergino over fences.
That's what I was going to ask you, because
that might be the ultimate key that says yes, he is back for the season at least, because that was obviously plan B in the fighting fifth. And I think he might take the hurdling mantle for the rest of the season if Constitution Hill doesn't get back. So I think through clues through him could be another way to look at him.
Yeah, and that was exactly what I was going to say. Like, Sergino did very well in the fighting fifth, and you wonder, like, Sergino and Lossiemouth, I think, is a far more, like, Constitution Hill Lossiemouth, I think, will be an excellent class. We're still not fully convinced Lossiemouth's going, and I suppose we'll not know until we're having a Christmas dinner what's happening with Lossiemouth, to be honest. But we're likely going to see some sort of clash between a Henderson horse and a Mullins horse, and I'm hoping Constitution Hill and Lossiemouth is both of them. Well, Constitution Hill certainly fully fit. Lossiemouth getting £7. I think Lossiemouth's the only horse that can beat Constitution Hill or give Constitution Hill a serious race if he's fully fit. Like,
probably, definitely around Cheltenham, I would think.
Yeah.
Even Kempton as well. The sharper nature of it would probably suit Lossiemouth being race fit. She does have that tactical speed, and they would maybe bowl Constitution out to be reasonably forward to know where they're at with them, and she can do the classic kind of slipstream thing and go by like that. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. She's got so much untapped potential, but you don't know really where the ceiling is. And Constitution Hill, you know where the ceiling is. It's stratospheric, and it's whether they can get back to anywhere near that's a question mark. But I'd have to say that if he does run again, Nicky Henderson must be very happy with him. You'd expect him to run pretty well and be almost at least 90%, I would say. But the other aspect of it is a Sergino aspect, because Nicky Henderson with the Arkle horses, look at Shishkin and Altior, they were well on the path to having at least 2 runs by now. He likes to get experience into them for an Arkle, and it would be pretty kind of uncharacteristic preparation for Sergino if they had to happen late, because you can only give Constitutional so much time if you're going to go over fences with Sergino as well. 3 months to Cheltenham, okay, it might seem like a lifetime away from here, but in training context, when you're putting a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old over one discipline and then reverting back, and then with a view to revert back again, to get them ready for a top grade 1 spring festival in that short window is going to be quite challenging. So you want to give Constitution as much time as you will, but you don't want to kind of completely write off the season a little bit with Sergino as well. So there's a delicate balance act to be had there, and Christmas is probably going to reveal all in more ways than one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's move into Willie Mullins, and it's regarding his novice chasers. What is the likelihood of Ballyburn and Majborough both running in the Arkle?
There's a chance. Particularly after what Majborough did, you would say, well, if they're both going to run, they're both going to run. If they're both going to run the same race, it's probably going to be the Arkle, isn't it? Because you can't be rushing to step them up and trip too drastically straight away. I think Ballyburn could run in the Brown Advisory, and I think Majborough could run in the Arkle.
Yeah.
Now, for that scenario to happen, I think these two have got to be undisputably the best novice chasers in their division. It could happen. It could happen. I think Majborough is definitely something out of the ordinary, and I think Ballyburn already has that rating in the bank from last year's novices. He was much better. He's already kind of.
Who were you more impressed with in the first chase start? Like, who would you? Majborough. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a bit more polished, and within experience that he's got, that being probably his 4th run in his life, to do that against, Tully Hill, it was 41 for the Supreme. He really disappointed a little bit, but he was always going to be more of a chaser. And he did that in better ground as well, and he showed gears. And the jump at the 4th last was exceptional. It kind of showed off what scope there is there. He devours fences. Well, Ballyburn spends a little bit more time in the air, but that gives him the view to step up and trip a little bit. If the old Turners was there, Ballyburn would definitely be Turners, and I think Majborough would be the Arkle. But the fact that they might run in the same race is obviously ownership. There's no jockey clash there. JP McManus, Mark Walsh, Ronnie Bartlett, Paul Townend in that regard. So there's no immediate pressure. But if Ballyburn kind of don't think he's going for Hayden, obviously chase, they might stick at Naas and go 2 miles. But and then you've got in the pocket maybe for other races, and then maybe JP McManus has got more options anyway. So it's very much up in the air. I think there's a chance that they could run both of them in the Arkle. I think if he's going to split them, I think Ballyburn's the one that would go up and trip now to the Brown Advisory. And, if Willie Mullins is that stringent about not being happy, and he's thrown a few barbs out that he's not been happy that the Turners has gone, he could stay at home with Ballyburn. He could stay at home with one of them, maybe even Majborough if they want to drill more experience into it, but he already looks too polished and too advanced for that. So I don't think that would come into his thinking too much. But if he's insistent that he's a 2.5 mile horse, might keep him that way, because there's enough options at the back end of the season outside Cheltenham, and he might be the litmus test of it. Is Cheltenham the be all and end all? Because if Willie Mullins does hold back quite a few of his star horses, then the clashes that you've been trying to create haven't worked in a way. So I think it's quite interesting in that regard what it'll do. I mean, it seems to me that Imperi Pass is his tripless horse, his ultimate tripless horse at the moment. You know, he seems to be going for Hayden Novice's chase at Limerick. You know, he might be their kind of out and out 2.5 miler. But again, if you're going to get a lot of runners in the Arkle, you do need to stay up that hill. It's just whether he wants to kind of stretch Ballyburn out, and you'd want to see him run over, 2.5, maybe that 2 mile 5 race at Leopardstown Double Racing Festival, if there was going to be a view to going up to 3 miles with him straight away. Right now, I don't think there's any rush to up them and trip. And if Ballyburn's going Nace, Majborough could go Irish Arkle, and then they might try and. Difficult thing is with that 2 mile race removed from Christmas, which would have been Ballyburn's target, he's all of a sudden getting backed up into the new year, and then you're kind of struggling to get another run into him before Cheltenham to kind of know what you want to do trip-wise. So the programme book's changed from at Cheltenham in regards to Ballyburn, and it's changed at home in Ireland with the scrapping of that 2 mile race. So he's in a bit of a corner about him, and I think that's why people are a bit uneasy to get involved, because the traditional year, I think a lot of people would have ploughed into a Majborough Ballyburn double in the 2.5 mile in the Arkle. But it's up in the air. Right now, it seems that they'll both run in the Arkle. I think Ballyburn has a decent chance now of running in the Brown Advisory, and I wouldn't rule out him keeping Ballyburn at home. Maybe if he's going to, it would send out quite a message about the Cheltenham programme, and if he did, because that is the most exciting horse in training right now. Probably Majborough aside, maybe Sergino as well. If he doesn't run at Cheltenham, it'd be a pretty damning indictment of the programme.
Yeah, and I think as well, obviously, just looking here, the Fairy House Beginners Chase, that I think is usually a week. It's usually this weekend, so they've moved it back a week.
Mm-hmm.
But the past horses that have won that race that were trained by Willie Mullins were Undisso, El Fabiolo and Blue Lord. 2 have won an Arkle, 1 was placed in an Arkle. So it's clearly a route that he goes before going to Cheltenham. Now, you've obviously got that Irish Arkle there. Ballyburn, I don't know where. Is there a chance Ballyburn maybe comes over for a Silly Isles or something?
It's that race at Naas, isn't it? And that's where he might bump into in the pocket.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they've moved over that race from Christmas because it's a race and post meeting, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's agreed to now as well.
Yeah. But I don't get why they get rid of that, because I know obviously the past few years it's not been great for, I think a couple of years ago, what won it a couple of years ago that had no chance at Chelsea? But I remember Phil Dorr was favourite. And did Sam Wah win it that year?
Possibly,
yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's probably a race, but it's a big clue ahead of Chelsea. You've got the 14 obviously chase as well, but with the turners going, I think the turners
one solution could have been drop the Limerick race and trip to 2 miles to keep, and then drop the 2.5 mile, like the Faheen Novices chase, and just make the Faheen Novices chase 2 miles, and you have got one at Limerick and then one the 3 miler. I mean, I would have dropped the 3 miler. I mean, I don't really get the appeal of Stayers running the Drinmore anyway. Generally, I mean, you've got Croke Park running in that 3 mile race. I mean, you're getting kind of the same type of horses running in that 3 mile race. I suppose Ballyburn could run the Faheen if they wanted to. You kind of bottomless ground, and that would really open up the avenue of Brown Advisory if he runs there. But I think they just looked at the programme and said, look, we've got 3 Grade 1 novice chases. 1 cuts up every year. Which one are we going to drop? And they decided to go with the 2 miler. I mean, there's some good races here in Britain that have gone. I mean, I quite like the
Dipper.
The Dipper, as a good race. The 2.5 mile. I was surprised that they get rid of that, but the programme book is bloated and they made cuts, and that's. I think it's maybe a shade hypocritical of us to kind of knock them removing races about when they're actually at least trying to do something with the racing programme.
Right, let's move into our performances of the week. We've got 3 each this week because it's a bumper show. We'll start with your first one. Who was your best performance of the weekend?
Already touched on Majborough. I mean, I think this horse is out of the ordinary. I think I don't think I've been excited about a horse since Monkfish, really. I
Okay.
hope he's sound. I think he's generally special. Yeah, okay, he's given a soft lead there, but what he's doing at his age is just it's ridiculous. It is. He shouldn't have won a triumph on paper. Developed the ground in the hill, caught strong travelling Carice and beat her. He's always going to be a chaser. We've flung him in 4 and 5. It's his fourth start anyway. He makes the odd mistake, but the fourth, he's jumped the fourth last, and he took 2 lengths out of some decent enough types that maybe flatter to deceive until Hell Asian Master, but it's a strong beginner's chase. It could have been a graded race on another day. And the way from the last of the line as well, he's absolutely accelerated.
Turn the foot was good. Yeah,
he smashed it. And that is a sign of a real class horse. And there was stuff to work on as well. He's not. I don't think he's showing anywhere near his hand there.
No, he's not.
And that was in quicker ground. It was maybe over an inadequate trip to some. It was wee bit of weakness in the off where we've probably left a bit on him. He's a horse that continues to impress me, and I think the world is his oyster. I think he's that good. Yeah, that's a good thing with this kind of Ballyburn Majborough conundrum, is that both of these horses could be that good that it might not really matter what you do with them.
Yeah.
Or where you can appoint them. But I think in the jumping department, I think Majborough is ahead of Ballyburn in that regard, while I think Ballyburn's probably done a lot more. But the Triumph Hurdle last season looked good. The 4-year-old division last season looked pretty strong, while the novice hurdling division last year might not have been great, but the way Majborough did it, put it to bed, and the way he keeps progressing through the ranks as quickly and at such a young age that he does is pretty impressive, and it's interesting to see where they go next. They go straight into Grade 1 company. Did even they take in that race at Naas? Might be a bit quick, but yeah, I think it might be Dublin Racing Festival for him, a gap, and I think maybe the Irish Arkle, and then on to Cheltenham for the Arkle. I mean, you wouldn't, looking at that, you'd think Arkle, yes, and then potentially a future Gold Cup horse. He looks like a horse that could do absolutely anything that he wants, and he's ticked another box here and proven that he can do it in faster ground.
And the trainer's excited as well. That's the thing that jumps out. He doesn't get bullish very often, but he's from the word go. Even the stable tour last season where he says, "I thought he was a chaser." He's massive. We hadn't heard of him. He wins a triumph, obviously. Shows his hand early on. Stays well in that race. I thought immediately after that triumph he'd be a Brown Advisory horse. And then obviously, remember, I was going with the nonsense of the Stairs Hurdle. There was a method there. It was they would need another year experience. He's way ahead of even what I thought.
No, I mean he talked about him in fact to file territory. I mean,
yes,
it's simple as that. I mean, he could. So when fact to file's done, he's ready to kind of challenge that mantle very, very quickly. He's going to be hot on his heels, and and the fact he can do that over 2 miles and get off the mark quite quickly, and he could probably hold his own company. It means that he can kind of keep him at that near minimum trip, and then gradually extend him out and improve with age as well, and gradually go up in trip. He's just a wildly impressive. He's 17 hands, so I mean that's pretty unusual. That you can win a triumph like that, particularly when he's won it with kind of nimblier, pacier types like Vauban and Lossiemouth in the past. He's now doing it with this kind of strapping, staying chaser. He's already got what he did over hurdles is a mere bonus, and he was a Grade 1 winner. I think there's just so much potential there as well, and he's already achieving a fair deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to go to Cheltenham on Saturday. I'd imagine you'd have had him on your list. Jangle Bay, I thought was very, very good. Yeah. Jumped very, very well. Beat Caldwell Potter, who I wouldn't totally give up on, but I'm not sure he's where I think a lot of us, and certainly the people who bought him, thought he would be. Springwell Bay, I thought ran a lovely race in second, but I just thought Jangle Bay, the way he took it. The more interesting thing though is that Nicky Henderson's horses are either off and on, but if there's a good one like a Jangle Bay, like a Sergino, they're fairly good and they're putting in some very good performances.
It seems his novice chasers are striking hot, maybe better than other divisions. just seriously good. To do that in a debut, off a high mark like that, was pretty impressive. I mean, it was a hot race to throw him in, and he jumped impeccably and readily picked off Caldwell Potter, who jumped really well himself.
What do you do with him? What do you do? Do you
just
just
wait for soft, bottomless ground because he's
Yeah.
a total mudlark. Paul Nichol's not sure where the trip is. It was strange running him 12 days after Carlisle because after Carlisle he's talking about he's still a bit of a baby, a bit backward. You need to get experience into him, maybe give him more of a chance than 12 days. He'll recover. He might be worth having a similar ride over 2 miles in soft ground, over something like that. But he might be one that's not quite progressing as much as he thought, and he might take a bit of time to kind of figure out. I wouldn't give up on him. They might kind of try and park Cheltenham maybe a little bit, go to Aintree and play the long game with him. I think that's maybe the intention there. So yeah, Django Bay, the winner, was brilliant, and readily picked him off, powered up the hill, and Nicky Henderson was another to kind of quickly bemoan the loss of the 2.5 mile Grade 1 because he looked tailor made for that. But he's not short of pace, but you would think that he would go more Brown advisory than Arkle.
Yeah.
After an effort like that, and quick turnaround. Cato Star, I think, would be a good race for him. That was his chase, where it's kind of jump and test. It's quick, it's sharp. I think that would suit him. But again, he would probably went to the Dipper after that, and then
that's exactly where it went.
Be something in February, and then on to Cheltenham. But you don't have that luxury anymore. So yeah, there's a bit of thinking to do. He's up to 151 territory now, which maybe rules him out novice handicap, and for sure anyway, lumping around top weight would be a challenge. So yeah, it's exciting to see what they do next, because Kempton, quick enough turnaround. I think that might be a shade unlikely for them. They'll probably they'll manage to find something in January. There's usually enough. Maybe go to Warwick, something like that. Could be on the agenda for him. But yeah, he's exciting, and he's a player in that division for sure at the highest level.
Yeah, certainly is. Where's your next big performance?
I think it would have to be Liberty Hunter. I thought I was pretty impressed with that horse. It was the only horse at Cheltenham on Saturday that came off the pace and won. Travelled all over them, stamped his class on it. There's a bit of a drift that suggested that he might need the run, or the fact that people knew that it would be held up and it was hard to make ground off the pace around there on the Saturday. And he's been given a slight nudge into the 150s. I think
that rules him out the Grand Annual.
I don't think it does. I think he's got plenty in hand there. He's certainly not out of it. And I think Connections would maybe have expected a bit more of a rise. I think the handicappers giving him a right chance. Depends what they're doing into them, of course. They've been waiting for a bit of cutting the ground for him for quite some time. So that seems to be key with them. I think 151 a Grand Annual, if it was run tomorrow, would be eminently winnable for him. I think he's kind of he's in that kind of GPR1 camp where he's now borderline graded horse. There definitely is a graded horse, probably a grade 2 horse. But I think he's unexposed enough that if they want to keep the powder dry and go that way, then I think 151 is well, it's no gimme. It's definitely manageable for him. So yeah, he's a horse going places, because he just caught the eye instantly. You know, he just totally outclassed a decent enough field that went, quick enough up top. So yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch with Spring Festivals come in mind. It depends what they do with him in the interim. If they do chance him in graded company and he does nick a grade 2, which is an eminently winnable kind of division outside, John Bond and things like that. The Desert Orchid would have been tempting, for instance, and things like that. A grade 2 limited handicap, would be his kind of for the taking. It just depends the prize money and the prize hunting fund is like, to see what they do with him. But yeah, I think a rise to 151 was more than fair, because he's a classic horse that I think is Grade 2 material.
I'm going to go to Sunday at Navan. Not a lot of exciting action apart from that. The last race was probably the race everybody was interested in. We saw, I think, a very, very good bumper performance from Calypso Chance. I think he could potentially be the kind of real deal here. He beat, obviously, the Classical Creek, I think, was well fancied. It was a John McConnell horse, who I think was well fancied as well, but just the way he took it out. Patrick Mullins on board, which I thought was an interesting booking, but kind of shows you, I think he could be a real. Maybe not. He's maybe not the bumper. He's maybe not going to win a champion bumper, but I think next season we're talking about him as a seriously good staying novice hurdler. Like,
yeah,
it's a really, really good animal.
Debut, didn't we? When all the Learys were kind of very happy that they got this horse relatively cheap. You know, I think it was under 200 grand, 170 grand or something, which isn't too bad these days for a horse like that. And I think in the sales that day, they were quite convinced that they snared one. And he confirmed that impression. I don't think Classic Creek's that good. I thought it was a good performance. It sets a reasonable enough standard. Future prospect was equally as good, though.
I would agree. Yeah,
with having no work done on her at all, apparently, and then just doing that.
Trying to a champion bumper horse, something like that.
Well, that's the kind of thing, you know. For your old mares, there's a different mares program. Do they want to rush her there? But you know, they've options. They've started out early enough. You could definitely drill more experience in. There's the listed race in a few weeks' time that she can go for, and yeah, she probably could make the grade. You know, he runs about 10 anyway in that race, so you can easily see her being in the top 5 or 6 of his bumper horses towards the end of the season. But you just don't know how many are really there waiting to come out in that division. I think Calypso Chance is certainly going to be one of Elliott's better horses. It's probably going to be the nominated Jigginstown horse to go, I'd imagine. I think Classical Creek, he can't dance. These kind of horses, early doors, haven't done what he's done. And the ladies aren't overly keen in the champion bumper too much, are they? So, yeah, he's probably going to go, and he sets a kind of standard that merits 7-8 to 1 champion bumper favouritism at the moment. It's just whether somebody, you know, he's had 2 runs already. Our horse is going to come and progress past him a little bit towards spring. That remains to be seen, but he did it well. He was always in the right position, and Patrick Mullins was an interesting jockey booking, because, you know, he has given them maybe a fair sighter to go back to Closutton with and say, like, Gordon Elliott's got one that's decent here. What have we got to beat that? So yeah, that was curious. It might smack that there's a lack of kind of top amateurs out there. You know, if it's kind of like Patrick Mullins has got the. He said he didn't have the choice, did he? But it wouldn't be surprising if he did, because I mean, I would have picked Calypso Chance out the pair. The market certainly did. So yeah, it was a bit of a funny one, the arrangement. But maybe there's a kind of Jigginstown Patrick Mullins thing going on anyway. Yeah, where he kind of has, where, you know, if he's available, you're going to use him, aren't you? But
yeah.
In the context of the yard, maybe Gordon Elliott might not have kind of been the happiest chap in the world, but yeah, he's a right favourite. He's the best we've seen so far. There are a couple that have been out there that are in the background that could be dangerous towards him, and there's obviously going to be the Willie Mullins battalion that we largely haven't seen yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move into your third performance of the weekend.
I mean, there was quite a few, but I quite liked the performance of Woodhall in the closer. He beat Joy AC, and I was really close to it. Was one of those punt weekends where it was just everything that went wrong, did go wrong. And Woodhall I was very close to backing, and I backed the second anyway. I chickened out and went for the obvious well-in Nicky Henderson horse. It was. They went slow, but her jumping was magnificent. You know,
6 for 6 over hurdles, a good animal.
6 for 6 over hurdles, and I did like her at Doncaster. She had this long spell, and I thought she was a potential kind of bit of a Boodle sleeper, you know, when they were trying to figure out, what horses were. She was kind of up there with Calaconte in the centre to Doncaster instead,
Yeah.
and Calaconte stayed back Fairyhouse for the Grade 2. And I thought 130 was definitely within her compass. It's just whether she needed it, and she didn't really. But it was the way she just jumped them silly. She was the best jumper by a mile, and that won her the race. And small rise. Without, she's got pace. She might be seen even to better effect with cover. She's a winning machine. You just really don't know what her ceiling is too much there. I think the second needs definitely a stronger pace, shall you say, and
she'll win. She'll win races.
she's definitely an eye catcher, and she's definitely better than her mark. She just needs kind of. I don't think she was seen to great effect that day either. The ride wasn't great either, but I mean nothing was in behind. She jumped remarkably well, and be interested to see what they do. I mean, there's a good 2.5 mile handicap around. I wouldn't run her too quickly after such a long layoff in case she kind of bounces, but there's good kind of 2.5 mile handicaps around. The Lanzarote at Kempton, for instance, in January. Things like that. If you want to go up and trip with her, we know she can travel. She's done it twice now and won pretty effortlessly. Dublin Racing Festival will be races for her there. As a male, there's further options. 2.5 miles flat out might stretch her a little bit. I think she's got pace to come back and trip, and that kind of 2 mile and a quarter might be her kind of ideal trip. But she was wickedly impressive in the jumping department. She looked like kind of graded class, and to do that off a long layoff off 130 was no mean feat. So I thought she was quite impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think she definitely deserves a mention. I think a really good performance of Gordon Elliott to get her in off there, and obviously Henderson's horse as well. I think it's going to win race. I think that's going to be a good race. My final horse is at Cheltenham on Friday. Mr. Coffee, so close, but so far again. But Stumptown, I thought, won this very well. Very much a case of wait and see what the handicapper does. I don't know what he's been given for that, but you would imagine Stumptown, if he's anywhere close to his mark, is a good chance at Cheltenham. I even think he's a national horse based on what he did on Friday.
It was very good. I mean, well backed. Again, another one of those where I backed the French horse that fell early, gets squeezed out, and Stumptown was his obvious second in the list, and he turns up and basically wins on the bridle. The won by a length. I think he's getting £8. I think he's going up to 157.
Do you think that's still a good mark? I think that's still decent.
It's reasonable enough.
Yeah.
It was kind of, you had to kind of give it to mid 150s and things like that, and it's definitely within his compass. But yeah, you just wonder how many were off in behind. Mr. Coffee's ran one again for second. The leader was there in sufferance for a long, long time. And he's just kind of come swinging and readily picked off a horse that in late night pass who it's probably ran his mark.
That last year, yeah.
He won it last year and he's probably ran his mark, but we all kind of know about him. So yeah, I mean it's going to be tougher. I mean the thing is now you're taking the same price about him for a race that's 3 months down the line. And he's off a higher weight, and it's going to be a better race, and there's going to be significant weight pools in behind as well. So I don't think he makes much appeal at the top of the market, although he can defy it right now. And Gavin Cromwell's a really good record in the December meeting, and it doesn't always translate into March. But he's 3 from 4 now around the banks. It's just whether he runs. There is another race, isn't there, at the end of January there? That's across country. So does he run there? Do you put him away for 3 months for this? It's a bit of a kind of awkward one again, because if he runs again and then wins with a view to definitely get into a Grand National, although he probably will now anyway with his new mark, it's a bit of an awkward one. I mean, because Gavin Cromwell can kind of make hay when the sun's shining, and this horse is in real good form. It's whether they can run him again and he wins again, and then he's up into 160 territory, and that's where you'd kind of balk at it slightly, because he's definitely going to be he's definitely going to be top weight at the moment. So it's just hard to gauge now that it's a handicap where you possibly go.
Let's move into what's coming up this weekend. It's probably a fairly interesting weekend. We've got a couple of graded races. We'll start at Friday and ask you a couple of races that kind of jump in together. We'll go with the Novices Limited Handicap Chase. Iberico Lord in here off 144. Rare Edition, Insurrection, Western Zephyr. We don't have prices. We also have a show legend by the name of Jet Powers. Remember him?
Yes.
He's in here as well, off 127. Hasn't run since 384 days ago. So interesting to see what he's got off 127. Again, we don't know prices, and a couple of these are entered in the race later on that we're going to talk about. But Iberico Lord, last time out, what did you think of him?
He was good enough. I mean, the race kind of fell apart a little bit, and he's been given been giddily parked into run his race today. So, but he got better in the Jumpers Handicap Chase. It kind of turned out to be a beginner's chase for him anyway. The way it happened, he's not got much wiggle room with his mark here. Back down and trip slightly, good ground. It's probably going to be okay for him. I do think Jet Pillar's interesting. Vincenzo's a bit of a tearaway. He's been hurdling. Alcido coming back down and trip for Venetia Williams is interesting. Chase debut. So, and I think you let the market kind of dictate your opinion. One, I don't think he's going to run both. So, an Insurrection's a decent horse that keeps kind of regularly placing in these kind of things. It's interesting that I'm going back down and trip with him. So he's so I think it's going to be a race where there's going to be a lot of pace in there, because there's a lot of kind of front runners that could stay a little bit further in there. But in terms of back class, it's get away from the Henderson pair. Rare Edition's worth a mention as well, because he was okay when he was second at Ascot. And he goes well around here. So, but yeah, it's a tough bet to see without having the market. But you'd imagine Nicky Henderson runs will get a lot of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jet Powers very, very interesting here if they do take up this renewal, because I do think he is way better than 127, and I just think he's had a bad time of it. Into the Grade 2 No Novices Chase. The interesting one here, I know we've got the likes in the waterside going over fences. Johnny, who I thought ran quite well behind the jukebox man. The one that interests me here is Mirazur West.
Right-handed.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing to come over here.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got so many of these horses that he needs to spend them about, and the occasional run over here is certainly not a surprise, and it's a good opportunity. I mean, it is Johnny Who going to run as well for JP McManus, Personal Ambition. That fourth at Newbury isn't too bad. With Caliph de Belly winning, and he's second in up at Oxeter as well. Isn't too bad either. So we look he's a decent horse. So his Kelso form, his Kelso win earlier in the season has been franked by Django Bay at the start of the season. So there's a good race in him. Whether it's this is open to question. 2 mile 3. Johnny Who's got a lot of weight. He'll be probably top weight, but it's a Grade 2, so he at least he's in better terms of level weights. In the waterside, I'm amazed that they're coming here off one. Well, I mean, there's a mark to be exploited there. 132 for some time. Ran a good race in the hurdle. I mean, I was a tracker horse. So I know this has been the plan to go novice chase and get a run in hurdles, but he could win a kind of 70, 80 grand handicap off his mark, and 2 weeks later he's over fences in a Grade 2 where he's given on debut to Johnny Who he'd be given £11 to. Normally he'd get £11 in a handicap, but now he's at level weights.
Mm-hmm.
I know the programme's a little bit curtailed and truncated, but I think this is and Paul Nicholls coming for a recent stint. I think this is more bad placing, personally. if he runs, I can't quite believe that he's here. He might win and it'll be fine, but you're blowing a chance at a really good handicap here in for a 30 grand Grade 2 race when you could probably win 30 grand before going in this company. So I find it odd that he's here. He's obviously talented and deserves a lot of respect, but I wouldn't have ran him in this. And I think if Mirazur West comes over, I think it'll be favourite. I think it'll be hard to beat because he's going right-handed, and the horse that runner up to Only by Night is definitely well advertised.
I mean, he's jumped deplorably against Only by Night and still only been 2 lengths.
Yeah, because he's gone the wrong way round.
Yeah,
he was beaten 6.5 at the end, wasn't he?
6.5.
So, but he was still there about the last. So, and this is more of this kind of. It's definitely more of his bag. He'll improve for the run as well. So I think he's going to be hard to beat. I'm really interested in what In the Waterside will achieve this season, but I'm pretty surprised that he's coming this way. And I think Personal Ambition's certainly not out of it either. But yeah, for a Grade 2, it's a lot more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into the racing on Saturday. We'll go to Ascot for the Graduation Chase. Iroko in here at 7-4. We've got Phil Dorr obviously in here as well. James DeBelley's been entered as his Jungle Boogie. I mean, the Irish are certainly entering the horses. All 3 big trainers. We've got a horse in here, but Iroko leads the market, and I just tend to go to you here because I know how much you like the horse.
I do, and the rain's coming for him, which is good. But I mean, that was a kind of grind, and now they're just kind of ticking him over because the Grand National's ultimate goal, and 152 seems to be. I wouldn't want to be much higher than that for a Grand National. Phil Dorr apparently is coming over. Gordon Elliott said early in the week, and this is his kind of. He's okay in these terms. He's conceding £3 to some decent horses, but he's there on ratings, and I think he's bang there, and he's probably the one to beat with James DeBelley coming off a pretty nasty fall at Punchestown the last time and reappearing. Jungle Boogie, is he going to run? 9-year-old can run in these kind of races, but he's there, and he is quite fragile. The Henry de Bromhead yard in the last couple of weeks have been kind of entering their kind of winter lull period slightly. Curl Harry would have a chance. Unexpected parties probably out for another float up to go down for a Grand Annual mark at the end of the season. Tourist could run well, but again, he's another that's beginning to kind of flatter to the sea a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for Phil Dorr to start recouping some of that. What was it, €720,000 or something? Rebuy again. So he's only 6 as well, which is quite remarkable given he's been around quite a lot and highly tried since his trial. So for him, he might turn over a Rocco at the prices.
Let's move into the big race of the weekend, and it is the Long Walk Hurdle. You have Strong Leader in here. We also have the Wall Park. You've got last year's winner Cramble, Hidden Valley Lake, Shoot First, Katira, Blue King Daru. Doesn't scream a classic renewal of this race, but Strong Leader deserves to be favourite, and I think the Wall Park is the interesting one here if they do take this up.
Oh, that's the plan. The plan is definitely to run. And yeah, I can't really disagree with the market too much of this because I think Strong Leader's going to come on for his effort at Newbury, which is this is his kind of bag, flat track, uncomplicated horse. On the rest, he's a rightful favourite that's probably pretty hard to oppose. As regards Cheltenham down the line, the Wall Park is definitely the most interesting horse. He's an up and comer. He won per top qualifier pretty easily off 145. He's been bought subsequently by GP McManus, which suggests he's got creative aspirations, and what he achieves here will determine where he goes. As well and beaten narrowly and wins or even wins. There's a likelihood he'll run the Steers Hurdle, and people have nibbled away at 33s and he's now 20s for it. So, and I can see why they've done that because he's the unknown quantity and the unexposed type that maybe could, and they'll have a line through the yard with Tihupu anyway as well, in the top echelons of that division. Campbell won this last year off 142, for instance. So I mean, he's up 152, and you think, oh well, he's coming a handicap company and a grade one. There's not a lot of differences. I mean, Saturday Belly made the step up pretty readily. You know, the division is so weak that it doesn't take much to look out of place here. You know, I mean, it's the easiest hop from handicap company to open graded company that you could possibly make. You wouldn't do it in the 2 mile division, for instance, but you can certainly do it here. One style of top weight is a young horse, and he's entitled to take a crack at grade one, and I've got no qualms about him at 7-2, second in. Campbell goes well fresh. You just wonder why he was kind of pulled out late the last day at Newbury. Maybe the wee kind of setback. Fergal O'Brien's yard maybe not firing as much as they were at that time either. So I'll respect him around here. He's got a very good chance. I'd be a bit mindful of that. And he was kind of found out subsequently in his last 2 runs in the spring after winning this last year. So, and would he want it? Would he want it soft? Because there is rain in the forecast, and I don't think he'd want it too attritional. I think Hidden Valley Lake, third at Aintree, but he's a bit of a doubtful stare. And Strong Leader definitely has his medal in Aintree running anyway. Shoot First probably likes the rain to come. Again, a bit to find. I think he's got much more to find in the Wall Park, for instance. But as I alluded to with Cramwell, he's coming from mid 140s and did it. Can he back that Haydock effort up though? That's the other thing. You kind of have to be a little. He hadn't run since October 2022. It was 2 years till he had a wee float up at Galway, and then all of a sudden he's kind of had his moment at Haydock. You do wonder how much kind of progress really is there after that. And I think the each way horse that's interested is Blue King Daru of the Nichols is because Johnny Delahaye Yard love Ascot winners. He was second over a trip that was too short when he was giving away weight, and he was the best at the weights at Ascot. Behind Lucky Place, who's now fourth favourite for the Stayers Hurdle anyway now. I thought he was the best horse in that race. I think he shaped as if he needed it. And going up and trip 3 miles, I think he's probably at an age where he can take that in his stride better than he did. So I think he's the kind of one. I think he's the one that's kind of the each way player in it. And then you've got depends if you trust Langer Dan and things like that. The market certainly doesn't this time at 25s. You just kind of wait and see what the market does, because if money does come in for him, then you have to respect the way he runs, because it is rated 160. So I think, well, it's definitely not strong. I think it's definitely adds some extra pizzazz into it, and Strong Leader sets an improving standard for the Brits in this division. So it's definitely grade one material, and I think the favourite's probably quite hard to oppose at the moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of like finding it hard to oppose Strong Leader, but also will maybe have a savouring Shoot First, who I think could be potentially a Stayers Hurdle candidate, and I think like winning that race, it was very much unfancied for that race on the day, and then won it well. So again, there's more to come from Shoot First, I think, and it is that kind of Charles Burns thing where it might be one day could run phenomenal, one day could struggle. But I think it's worth maybe an each way play 8-1. Let's move into the Silver Cup at 3 o'clock, where we've got a strong favourite, and it's really hard to oppose Venetia Williams at the moment in certain handicaps. Victorino in here off 143, 5-2.
Well, a 5-2 says it all, doesn't it? But this is his race. Won it last year. Venetia Williams' record, the market was respecting it, and rightfully so. The issue with him is his running style, because he tends not to jump that well, and he tends to run pretty much throughout the back. I think you need a really good ride to win, and Chaladovic is definitely capable of that, and he's well in, and he's the obvious one. But if you like this horse and you think it'll win, back him in play because he's going to be longer.
Yeah.
He's going to be longer after 2 fences than he is now. He'll be 5-1 after you jump the first 2. So be out the back and he'll be airy and you won't like him and you're thinking, this isn't great. And the market will have a kind of wee kind of corrective moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you back him. He's not going to get much shorter of the off. I think the way tactically it'll roll out, and you'll probably see the usual kind of plethora of front runners winning around Ascot and things like that that'll put people off the market, and you might get a wee late drift. But I think, halfway through the first circuit is when to back him, because that's his kind of running style, and it would scare you a little bit, and it's certainly enough. I think he'll try and get an early position, but it's not really his kind of bag, and tactically it might not kind of work out for him. He's got 3 miles, which means he definitely has time to kind of progress and get into it. But if you look at his run last day, which was obviously eye catching in the Coral Gold Cup behind Candu Kid and Broadway Boy, he's come from a mile back, and after the first circuit you'd be thinking he'd absolutely no chance, and he's come in, he's got within 5 lengths at the end, and he still hits the last. He can still hit these kind of fences, and he's can be more comfortable. Right, he still makes the odd mistake, and it doesn't stop him though. I mean, that's the kind of thing. But I think you can see him maybe struggling early doors. You think in play, something like that. So I think that's the kind of way he'd play him. I do have suspicions that I think he'll win, but I don't think it's going to be an easy kind of, he's a favourite, he's going to win. You don't need to look at anything else. Trelawn might want it a bit softer than this, but there is rain for a war of attrition there. I mean, if you think it's left a mark for something like King George, it might have left a mark for this because he's going to lumber in a big weight again.
Mm-hmm.
Change of Man ran well at Newcastle, but he's becoming very frustrating. He doesn't win often enough. He's still reasonably well in, but he's got a £5 hike for getting beat at Newcastle, where he did have his opportunity there. 3 under through 5s carrying enough weight for me. And the French horse is a bit of an unknown. It could be a cultural shock for him. So I think the favourite will probably win, but I think he'll get a better price, certainly on the day and certainly in play. And I think Dr. Ken's probably each way danger to him.
Okay, we'll move into the 335. We've got the Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle. Obviously, a couple of horses that run in the Greatwood are in here, Dysart Enos and Be Aware, second and third in that race respectively. You've got Cabral de Mathan, you've got Secret Squirrel, Salver, Favour and Fortune. Quite a decent handicap. Calum, probably one I'll be waiting until Friday night to assess for the column. I don't know where to go here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the market's is pretty is pretty accurate with the top 2 because they're unexposed, and that the Greatwood's historically a very strong pointer towards this. I just maybe think Dysart Enos has a superior turn of foot, and might have the better mark now. I mean, Be Aware was nudged up 5. Be Aware nudged up 4. She also needed cover. She didn't get it. She still ran pretty well. The yard's form, this might have dipped slightly enough to be a little bit concerned. And the Skelton yard might be a bit more reliable in races like this. So they're going to be hard to split, and maybe the market will tell you on the day which way to go. But I think Be Aware wants maybe a bit further. I think Dysart Enos won't have any much concern about the ground. Maybe the soft ground will actually help to kind of settle a little bit and so that verve. So yeah, I'm 60-40 in the Diacertinos camp at the moment. Gabble de Martin's progressing well enough, but it's tougher for these in behind. Favourite Fortune's come back from a long way off. He might need this. He's a horse I like, but seeing him entered and likely to run is a big plus. I was disappointed with Godante in the Great Wood. I think he might be better than that. I think he might bounce back. He's a bit in and out, but you're now taking a price at 16s where he will there. He's a pace angle, so he that should help kind of dice. Decent pace to aim at, so it's usually an interesting race. But the two obvious eye catchers from the Great Wood are in there, and I think Diacertinos might be the one this time around.
Okay, we'll just go to Haydock quickly for the Tommy Whittle handicap chase. Again, we don't know a lot about kind of what's coming here, but you've got Famous Bridge, East Street, Frenchy Delarge, Surrey Quest, Cruise Control. There's an interesting one here called I Like the Way You're Thinking for Ben Haslam, who has got a very good winning record, but obviously will probably like the ground. It's likely going to be softer on the day. I would kind of take a wee chance on him.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Ayr when he won that 3-runner race. They couldn't have done it any better than the horse that fell that day ran well at Newcastle to be third at 18-1. So on fighting 50. So yeah, he's still going through the ranks. And of course, he won at Newcastle, easily in that Grade 3. So, but he is going. This is a little bit tougher now. It's just whether there's any more mileage in the mark. He didn't get a rise for winning it here. He's now getting another £8 in his back, and he's 10. So I'd be a bit mindful of him. I think Credo could run possibly quite well at 16s if she takes her chance, because it is going to be. I mean, there's a ton of rain heading Haydock's way, so it is going to be bottomless, and you might want to kind of see that develop before you have any kind of genuine betting interest, because Famous Bridge would love it, bottomless ground. He was like fourth in a Kimure earlier in the season, fourth in the Ultima, sorry, behind that Storm, and he's £2 lower than that. Hemmings, calls at Haydock are always popular, so you can see why he's been put in his favourite. Surrey Quest is a strong stayer, so it's a race where traditionally there's going to be absolutely no hiding place, and Frenchy Delarge is another kind of ominous Venetia Williams presence in races like these that are going to get automatic respect. Cruise Control was quite high up in the market for that big entry race, the Beecher, before that was ruled out. So this is going to be up the street. So there's not going to be a big star. It's going to be nice through the ranks like Roy Pagaille did back in the day.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good. It's going to be a good competitive race, and it's going to be who stays the best and handles the ground conditions. But you just want to see the rain materialise and the market adjust accordingly, and then you could get you've got a clearer idea of where to go. But there's plenty that merit respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And for more information on the weekend, I'll have the column going out on Saturday, and obviously Calum will have his picks over the weekend that we'll be sharing as well. Let's move into our anti-post / tracker horse. Now, I had 2 picks last week. You have an anti-post / tracker horse, but do you mind if I give my tracker horse first?
Yes, fire away.
I want to go to Monday at Naas, where I thought there was a really hot beginner's chase. There was a lot of, I just want to say the horses that were in this before I go through. Lecky Watson, Slade Steele, obviously last year's Supreme winner. Answer to Cave, who finished third in the Martin Pipe, or fourth in the Martin Pipe, I think. Shan Bally Kid, Staffordshire Not, but the one that really caught my eye, and I think, hint, maybe National Hunt Chase, if he can keep under 145, is Blizzard of Oz. Thought he kept on really well to finish third there. Couple of jumping errors that you'd want to tidy up on, but I think he's a horse that needs a trip. I think you will maybe see him. He doesn't have to run the 4 times because it's a novice race if he goes that route. I think when that race gets priced, I think he'll be quite prominent in it. and I'm going to say he's my tracker horse of the weekend. I just thought to be within half a length of Slade Steele, who I think is probably not run to his level. We can agree on that. But I think he showed a real sense of encouragement that he could be better over a further trip.
Yeah, he's got a 3 mile pointing background.
Yes.
It has race exclusively over 2 mile,
Mm-hmm.
2 mile 3, which doesn't scream National Hunt Chase preparation, but he could easily kind of go up and trip. You can get another beginner's chase in him because he's not won it. So and then another run, and that qualifies you for a mark for National Hunt Chase and things like that. So yeah, I think he's going to probably be under 145. Professionals can now ride in it.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of hunt your way around, and it's not really kind of if you've got enough class, you can kind of defy the kind of stamina concerns. We've seen that with Corbett's Cross, for instance, where the trip was inconsequential. So yeah, he could be one for that. There's plenty in that race. Answer to Cafe as well. You've got to wonder what the plan is for that. I mean, that could be kind of cut from a similar cloth. The way that was going. So, yeah, there was and the depth of that beginner's chase, in Ireland is just, it is quite frightening when you compare it over here with a view to kind of what we're doing in spring. The difference, it can be quite stark, and usually the best ones are competing in better terms as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm looking forward to this. What is your anti-post / tracker horse for the weekend?
Well, it's unbelievable in the cross-country handicap chase. It's Delta Work at 16 to 1.
Okay.
Watching this race back, Stumptown won. Delta Work was cruising and tanking along, racing with usual verve and enthusiasm for 3 miles. It was still third in the second last, and then just bunny hopped it, and they gave up. They just kind of, we don't need to ask him, and there was kind of, and the chicken wings were out, and all sorts, and he's weakened out of it to finish kind of 11th in the end with that big, massive long running. Ground that was maybe getting a little bit quick in the cross country, but it's usually soft enough for him anyway. He's been dropped £8 for that. That's massive. At 159 to 151, Stumptown's apparently going to be put up 8 to 157. That's a £16 swing for 16 lengths. That wasn't going to be 16 lengths come the second last, whichever way you'd cut it. Now, the thing is he on the downgrade? Well, he was running up in the Grand National for 157. There's no way this horse is in the downgrade. He's won this race the last twice, in better terms, but it's going down there. The O'Learys and Elliott, to a degree, have been bumping their gums about the change of conditions to this race. The handicapper's giving him a right chance here. A right chance. He won't be top weight anymore. Stumptown will be giving him 6. Instead of being the flip side, it's a £16 swing. He didn't lose any enthusiasm to my eye. Rob James can claim 7 off him anyway, which I think they'll be tempted to use because he gets on with him quite well. He's beaten Galvin, who was £7 superior to him by 2.5 in it 2 years ago. Tiger O won it 3 times. Delta Works won it twice. And I think they would love to kind of stick one up the system here and win it. And the handicapper has given him a massive opportunity. And he's a popular horse. He went off 16, 18 to 1 because he wasn't off and he's off top weight and there's no interest. It'll be a different story come March. And when people see the weights and cotton on to it, 16 to 1 for him is a silly price. He will not be 16 to 1 if he takes his chance. And where else is he going to go? The national weights are going to come out anyway before this race. So he'll be ready for this, he'll be ready for that. And the way he ran the Grand National suggested to me that he was going to win that cross country again. And Cocoa Beach is now higher. Cocoa Beach has only been dropped 2. Cocoa Beach is actually now higher on the weights than him. And Conflated can't go around there. And he's proven it. But if he was in the downgrade, he would have lost enthusiasm for it. He loved it for the first 3 miles of that, and then he bunny hopped the second last, where he deliberately, I think, got in a bit too tight and lost a bit of momentum, and they kind of quickened away from him. But he's done this before. He was beaten in the January edition as 5-2 favourite, where again there wasn't much interest, and the race kind of develops 2 out and he's gone there travel. He's made ground. He looked quick. He looked smooth. He looked decent. I know he had a run under his belt at Down Royal, but that got him down another couple of pounds. He's been dropped 8, which I think is kind of a bit of a it's a bit of a kind of gift from the handicapper in a way. It's an olive branch really of kind of, okay, we know you're not happy with the change conditions. Here's a chance for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think when Caluntra look at that new mark of 151 and realise that they won't be top weight come out, so I think everyone assumed that the Delta work would be kind of Delta work or Galvin.
That's why I didn't fancy him at all. I thought that's
the thing. And now you're kind of taking twice the price about him for a 2-time winner around here. Okay, he's 11 going 12, but he's not fallen off a cliff because he's been second the Grand National, which turned out to be a kind of cross-country like sprint from the last anyway. And he's still been able to be second to Ian Maximus, who is a top-class Grade 1 operator on his day. I think he was that day. Okay, we don't really know what the makeup of the race is, but it's changed in the last couple of weeks after that running back towards his favour again. And if it was off level weights, he'd still be favourite for this. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
And he's actually getting weight now from the new favourite, even though he won Cosley and he's got more to offer and is a bit younger. I accept that. But he's not done it in March. This horse has twice. He's been second the Grand National where he's sometimes getting to that level, but he's not done it yet. And he's 4-1 and now Delta work with 16s and you've got a £16 pool.
Mm-hmm.
I think the market thinks that this horse is gone, and I don't think he is. And with knowing the connections and the trainer, they'll be desperate to emulate Tiger Roll and win this 3 times. And I think he's got a much better chance than 16-1 of doing so. He's going to run here. He'll probably have a float up in the Boyne Hurdle or something. He might run in January again to get him down another couple of pounds, because if the handicapper believes, if he runs that like that again, are you going to drop him another 8? As if you do, you go in again. You know, I think they've given him a chance here, and Elliott and the O'Learys have got something to kind of think about a little bit, because I think he's kind of done that so they're not mouthing off come festival time about how ridiculous this all is and how you're hammering a kind of old war horse and things like that and changing conditions to rule these. They want him to run, they want him to have a chance, and they want him to have a winning chance. And it's in the handicapper's interest to give him a chance as well. And he's been given it.
Mm-hmm.
Down to 151. Stumptown's in there, so he won't be lumbering 12 stone, 11-7. You know, if then you've got the Rob James option where he can claim 7. I mean, and Jack Kenny's he come back again, which is probably worth another 7. He's back if he picks him. So, and people will then eventually kind of see the weight, see the difference, see that he was second the Grand National, and say, well, actually, he's probably just going to be mapped out for the spring.
Mm-hmm.
The spring anyway, for that race and for this. And the handicapper is finally relented, and the market hasn't cottoned on. So I think 16-1 each way, Paddy Power, Betfair, Sky Bet, 4 places, quarter the odds. I think he's got. I think it's a knocking bet, because I think he showed enough to me that he's interested, and we know the trainer's record in this. We know his record in it, and we know what the owners want to do. And I think they'd really enjoy having a chance of sticking one up them here. And the handicapper, I think, is giving them it off 151, and you're getting a massive weight pool with the favourite at the moment anyway. So there's a lot of water under the bridge, except that in the handicap, and he might run again in January in the same race and maybe do something similar. But, you know, he's had 2 runs. I think he's in reasonable enough heart. You know, he was leading them till like the second, third last at Down Royal as well. He still jumps reasonably solidly. Yeah, he's not as good as he was, but who is it at that age, 11 going 12? But, you know, that normal age, that statistic would concern you, but it doesn't really in fox hunters and cross countries like that. You know, he's still got enough class. And now the fact that handicappers kind of acted a little bit, maybe a bit hastily, but it's dropped from 159 to 151. I think that's enough. I think serious temptation there, and I think that's going to. I think that will get the juices flowing at Kiluntra to kind of do the unthinkable, win 3 in a row, emulate Tiger Roll, winning 3, and win it again. And he's been favourite twice, the last twice. And he can beat superior horses as well. He beat Galvin by 2 and a bit lengths. Galvin was 166, he was 159 2 years ago. Because he's kind of a specialist and the ground was in his favour. So, and I think there's a good chance that it'll be softer in March than it was there as well. It usually is soft anyway because of where it's situated. So the ground wouldn't bother me. And even if it was okay, in the Grand National, he proved to me that he does have the gears necessary kind of win that. So yeah, and while people are queuing up to back Mr. Coffees of the world off, like Mr. Coffee all of a sudden is only £9 inferior to a Delta Work.
Mm-hmm.
It's more 15, 20 in my eyes, realistically, face value. So the handicapper's just giving him a massive chance, and I think 16-1 each way in a race where he's almost nailed on to running, isn't he? You're going to get a run for your money. I think you're going to get a price, and I think there's a strong chance you're going to see a different horse like you have the last 2 times, 3 times in March at the festival. And he's won it twice off level weights, and he's not giving lumps of weight away to that many horses now. Sweet David would only get £7 off him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and Sweet David's actually kind of short on the market than him as well. I think it's been over-egged now, and I think now's the time to get involved. 16's too big.
Awesome. I'm very, very surprised, but I'm not surprised to a degree when I see. I look at it. I didn't know he'd been dropped to £8. I think that's a massive interest. But we are obviously that'll go up on the. We'll obviously have that going up on the system later, so stay tuned for that. Calum, we're 1 show to go before Christmas, and it is certainly the calm before the storm. Thank you very much for that. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's Christmas entries that might open up other anti-post opportunities as well, and things like that. The one thing is as well, now the cross country's a handicap. Do they do that kind of old Irish tax thing? I think they won't with Delta Work, but I mean, they might, and that's another kind of thing to be mindful of weeks in advance. But we'll take a chance and get the ball rolling with that one anyway at 16s and see where we're at. And yeah, another show before Christmas, and that'll reveal much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, we will be back 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on Sunday with our Christmas preview, and we'll see you all then. Obviously, Calum will have his selections going up on social media as well. Colin will go out on Saturday for Ask It and Hey Docs, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you all soon, folks. Thank you very much.